Everyone has a person they debate things with, or at least I would hope so. That one person for me is my grandmother. She's the most intelligent and logical person I know. So when something intrigues me, I call her so we can debate the details of the thing. This time around, it was the character Red Rush on the Prime Video show Invincible. To give context to the universe we're discussing, Invincible is fundamentally a parody of the DC universe. The introduction to Invincible didn't really pull me in, at least not until the conclusion of the first episode. So here's my thing with superhero content. As a kid, I grew up watching Batman and Superman. These two heroes alone were powerful enough to rarely be beaten. The times they were beaten, they bounced back immediately to the point to where I always knew the outcome of the situation. Either Batman wins, Superman wins, and they have some great undertaking. But the bottom line is they always succeeded. Years down the line when I became a teen, I cared less about keeping an eye on the superhero genre. At least not until I saw trailers for the animated film The Death of Superman. I became intrigued with the idea that a superhero, this meld of unstoppable force and immovable object, can be killed. If Superman is God and God can be killed, what happens to the rest of the universe? Does the bad guy go on to rule while the heroes become the underdogs? And I had this similar thought with Killmonger in Black Panther. What if T'Chaka had been killed? Could this villain potentially become our brand new hero? If he's right, would we forgive him for the atrocities he's carried out because of the outcome that made the world a better place? This is where superheroes become much more than titans for me. After watching the MCU and then going into The Boys, I'm sold on the thought that supernatural abilities aren't a ticket to immortality. Heroes get old, they make mistakes. Heroes fall in love, they have sex, they have kids, and those kids grow up to become the next generation of heroes. Overall, what I've come to enjoy about adult hero content is there are downfalls to every hero, whether it be their abilities causing them to have conflicting relationships, or the world viewing them as more of a liability than an asset. Whether they do more harm than good or kill more people than the individual life they went to save. These enhanced beings aren't perfect. Their powers may even be the downfall. Absolute power corrupts absolutely by accumulation or by compromise. In The Boys, we see this at the height, but in Invincible, we see a mix of this thought. Some heroes in the beginning do seem perfect, while at the same time associate themselves with those that have major flaws. Now, under that context, Red Rush is nothing more than the Flash redefined. He's super quick, fast reflexes, but a little more down to earth. He's a hero, but at the same time, he's a married man trying to find balance in his personal life with his responsibilities to the world. One of the few times we see him, he's on a picnic with his wife. The moment is quite sentimental, before being abruptly interrupted by a disturbance that Rush senses. While his wife is talking, he takes off to fight and then returns so quickly his wife doesn't even notice what's going on. He's only exposed because he's still wearing his hero's uniform, and this triggers an argument between him and his wife. This is where he tells her that she doesn't understand and that his perception is as fast as his speed due to his powers. That the briefest conversation is like hours passing by. Then not long after, he's killed in a battle with Omni-Man in a couple of following scenes. That statement has remained with me of all the dialogue in the series. It's because Red Rush experiences time differently than we do. So in a discussion with my grandmother, I began to wonder, is it possible to calculate perception in a way where we can draw a comparison of our passage of time to Red Rush? The response I got was perception can't be calculated because everyone experiences time differently. It would be different if we can account for a second for us as an hour for him, but that isn't the same as perceiving time in itself. So then I thought about that dialogue. My perception is as fast as I am. Then a question popped in my head that needed to be answered. How fast does Red Rush run? I asked this question because we can compare how fast Red Rush runs speed in miles per hour compared to a regular human. Does this determine his exact perception of time? Does it allow us to calculate a specific rate? Possibly, only because we can determine how much faster his perception power is compared to a normal human based off of the original statement. According to Wikipedia, the Red Rush runs at a speed of 400 miles per hour. That's 643 kilometers per hour. On average, running speed for a human is 26 miles per hour or 45 kilometers per hour. That's an increase of 1,328% to a normal person. So if we tie that perception to speed, what is the fall off percentage to chronological time? Because chronological time is still a major factor in what's prompted this discussion in the first place. In a study done in 2017 by Physiology and Behavior, a group of 12 volunteers did two different exercises, a 30-secondary bike ride and a 20-minute rowing machine. They repeated each of these tasks 3 times on 3 different days at 3 different effort levels from light to heavy to maximum to exertion. Each day in chronological time, the subjects exercised for 20 minutes. In both functions, time based on their perception traveled slower once they exerted themselves to their limit. Each subject on average thought the exercise took around 17 minutes, a 15% offset. When we are in danger, our perception slows to allow us to have abnormal sensory awareness. This perceptual offset is based off circumstance. For Red Rush, it would still be based off of physical movement and concentration. This brings me to why I brought up this argument in the first place. The thought that Red Rush may have the longest torturous death in the series. Not long after our introduction to Red Rush, he finds himself in the battle with Omni-Man. His perception is so quick, he's the only one of his team to be aware of the threat Omni-Man had become by preventing his first strike. Briefly later, we watch Omni-Man gain the upper hand and begins to execute Red Rush. But what does he experience in that moment when he's battling for his life? Well, chronologically, time is moving normally. He dies no quicker than what we see, but in this moment, what is he perceiving? Is this moment agony of hours, just as the briefest of conversations? Is his death the worst, a painful, slow ending that his powers have turned into a living, torturous hell? I don't think so. We're missing one important thing here. Technically, Red Rush is in motion. He's still using his powers. His perception during this moment would be matching the motion of his hands. Since he's in motion, then for him, time would seem normal because his mind is focused on a physical activity which alters his perception of time. What we see in this moment when the scene is slowing down is not the perception of Red Rush, but still the perspective of the audience and observation of ongoing events. We have to consider one thing. A person can be aware of their perception of time while acknowledging the fact that chronological time is flowing at a normal rate. When undergoing an athletic activity or pressured under a large workload, we've often said the phrase, time went by fast, or time went by too slow, or I thought things went way quicker than they were supposed to be, which plays into the research presented earlier. Red Rush is completely aware that although his perception of time makes simple conversations feel like they're lasting forever, overall his biological clock ticks normally as everyone else. This is how he's able to hold conversations without speaking too fast, or is able to listen without hearing things too slow. His interaction with the environment and others proves his abilities does not cause him to be displaced in time. This would mean his death would not be the worst. I wish I could find much more information on this animated edition of Red Rush. In these shows, some characters are so well written that they're able to make their mark on the audience in a short amount of time. When I first seen this hero on screen, he immediately became one of my favorites because of his interaction with people and with his wife. It's similar to seeing Darth Maul appear in Star Wars. Despite having such a short screen time, Maul went on to be one of the most popular characters of the trilogy. So I want to see a prequel show that shows more of the history or events to this eventual conclusion for Red Rush. There's still a lot of Invincible universe for the audience to explore, and I'm looking forward to the second season. Gents, I appreciate you watching. Make sure to let me know your thoughts on this video in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel for more content in the future.